find your feet
Yeah.
again.
And that's why it's there's this phrase, it's expensive to be single. It's very expensive because
I agree.
Your career decisions are tied to your income, your home ownership, even location. So for instance, if you're a single person, you're likely to want to live in an area that there's lower cost of living just to be able to afford rent, but it might not be the best area for your career. So
I think I need to move away from here.
It's expensive to be single, and it's lonely too. Like, honestly, let's not even lie about it. It's sometimes you just want to cuddle with someone, watch a TV show, and drink a cup of tea. It's like
the people watching above 18 here. Yeah, they are.
All of us here are above 18, so they're not shying at all in this conversation. It's just the reality of it. Like in February, on Valentine's Day is in winter in Canada. That's another annoying thing. So it's like it's cold. So if you cannot go to a restaurant, at least have breakfast in bed. But you have no bed.
Sophia, I know that you are married, right? But what do you think about this topic generally?
I think, like, from what I've heard, like, dating anywhere is hard, honestly. It makes it harder in Canada.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for returning. Today, I have two special guests on the channel. These guests are very dear to me, and I'm so happy that they're here to come and share their stories with us, to share their journeys with us, and then, of course, to give us some very, very helpful tips on life and living as an immigrant in Canada. So yes, I'm just going to leave them to introduce themselves. My left here, based on what I see on my screen, is Sophia. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. My name is Sophia. Really excited to be here to share some interesting tips. Thank you so much for having me, my loves. Over to you, Toby.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tobes. I've been friends with my loves and Sophia for a couple of years now since I moved to Canada. I'm very excited to be making this YouTube video and talking about my experiences here in Canada with you guys. So welcome.
Thank you guys for joining. Thank you so much, and I'm sure that those who are watching will really gain from you being here. So yes, I've got some questions for you guys today, or you ladies today. I think I should stop saying guys. For you ladies today, and I will just, so for those who are watching, if you see me turning to my right, it means that I'm just looking at the questions. I'm pulling them up for Tobes and Sophia. The first question I have here, Sophia, let's start with you. Why did you come to Canada?
Oh my God, there are so many reasons. First of all, like, the quality of life for me, it's so much different from like back home. All of us are from Nigeria, so we all know how it's like back home. And then, of course, universal healthcare. The healthcare system here is really good. Access to free education for my kids. So my reason mainly for coming here was just thinking about the future of my kids, and raising my family. And it just made sense to me. Like, out of all the countries, I just felt like, Canada was like the best place to be, and we have people from like various cultures. So it's an amazing place, honestly. Like, there's so many reasons, but like those are my top reasons, I guess.
Awesome. Tobes, over to you.
Yeah, it's very similar to what Sophia said, so that I don't repeat myself or like what she said. It was mostly the standard of living. Like I grew up in Nigeria, like three of us here, and I wanted access to better opportunities. Like I wanted to get a passport that could open doors for me. I also wanted to be independent. And when I was in Nigeria, I couldn't really be independent because I had to live with my parents in order to save money for rent and stuff. So Canada was like the gateway for me to being able to live the life I wanted. So that's why I'm here.
Oh, all right. I mean, awesome. That passport, I'm sure that's the reason why.
Oh my God, it is so important.
I know. Tell me where your green passport can take you, please. And let's not start that conversation. All right. So I'm just going to go to the next question. How long have you guys been in Canada? Like, when did you leave Nigeria? And then how long have you been here?
I think I'm the most recently arrived, not so recent. This would be my second year. I came in August 2020, and oh my God, this is 2022. So almost 2 years, heading to 2 years in Canada. I know Toby has been here for like a while. How long have you been here, Toby, again?
3.
3 years. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Tobes, are you ready to apply for your citizenship?
Yeah, very. I did the calculator because there's a physical presence calculator that helps you know how long you've been here, because you have to be here for 198 days, and it says that I need 40 more days because I've traveled a bit. So
just I have to
do that.
All right, I'm also looking forward to that. I think I would have maybe 30 more days. I think so, but yeah, I'm excited to have that Canadian passport. I'm sure everyone is. The next question here is, what province did you land in? What province do you currently live in? Is the cost of living in your province low or high? Like, it's a bunch of questions. And then what will you advise newcomers who are having troubles choosing a province? This is a bunch of questions, so please just take your time to answer.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna let Toby go first. I feel like I've been the first person all the time. So Toby, you go ahead.
Set up, finesse. Okay, sure. I've always lived in Ontario, so I'm in Ontario right now. When I landed in Ontario. It's funny because when I was first coming, I was thinking I was going to go to Alberta because I have an oil and gas background, and Alberta is the oil and gas province of Canada, just like Rivers State and Bayelsa are for Nigeria. But I have my godparents in Ontario, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to land with them, find a job in Alberta, and then go. But it's been 3 years and I haven't left. I'm currently in Ottawa. So I landed in Toronto. I got picked up by my godparents 3 years ago today, or a couple of days ago, which was, very sweet and memorable for me. So I lived with them in the GTA for 6 months, and then I got a job in Ottawa. So I moved to Ottawa for a job, and I've been here for 2.5 years now. The cost of living is pretty high in Ontario compared to maybe New Brunswick or Newfoundland. However, there are more job opportunities in Ontario because technically it's the government capital and the economic capital of Canada. So Ottawa is the government capital and Toronto is the economic capital. So it's very, it's where people want to be. A lot of immigrants come here. I think the percentage is 50% of all immigrants actually land in the GTA, like in Toronto, Ottawa area. So everybody else is spread amongst Alberta, Calgary, and all of that. So it's pretty expensive, but there's also more higher wages because of it being the economic capital. So if you work in Toronto, you probably get paid higher than if you're working in Ottawa, but you still pay more for rent and stuff as well, right? So was there any other question about those?
Yeah, so what would you advise new immigrants?
About living. Okay. So I think you should go to where you have either of two things. Either you have higher job prospect or you have family support, because both of them are very important. For me, I chose family support over job prospect because I didn't want to stress. I don't like stress in my life. I wanted to finesse. I don't know if I love that song so much. It speaks to me. I just wanted to chill. So I went to where I had family support for 6 months. I didn't pay rent. I was living at home, eating food for free. They were driving me everywhere. It was amazing. So that's that. A lot of people don't have family support, but if you have friends that are willing to help you, show you around, you might, want to choose that. But job prospect is very important because if you're into manufacturing, you don't want to go to a city where there's no plants or there's no, manufacturing industry, right? So that's something to consider. And again, a lot of us don't like to think about smaller provinces, but sometimes it's the right place for you. If you go to Moncton in New Brunswick or Fredericton in Newfoundland, you might be able to get a job, maybe to buy a house in a year because things are still cheaper than in the big cities. So those are things to consider before you make your move.
Good. Since Sophia is in the same city as you and the same province as you, I'll just say, what would you advise new immigrants on, choosing a province to live in?
I think Toby has really highlighted all the important things, but then again, I feel as much as we can advise people, the choice remains yours, right? I came here for the same things, I had family here, it was my in-laws. It was easier for me to land here. So I feel that's very important as well, because people coming as families might have different priorities from people coming who are single. So those are all things that you need to consider, but definitely in terms of like career-wise, I settled down in Ottawa because I've always wanted to work in not-for-profit. So it kind of made sense because this is where like the hub of where all of those offices are. And I aspire to work in like a federal government position. So that also makes sense to be in Ottawa. So again, like Toby said, job prospects, where do you see yourself long-term? Cost of living, childcare, all those things are like, they vary from province to province. So all I would say is just do your research. Like there's so many resources available. There's so many people who live in like every province in Canada, like the Nigerians in every province. Like if you go on like social media, connect with all those people, get to know what the differences are, do your research online and make the decision that works best for you. But definitely if you have family, like it's so much easier, at least the first couple of months before you get a job, to just kind of like stay with family or friends for a while. But then if you don't and you have enough finances, then there are like how many provinces you can go anywhere. And Canadians are just amazing in whatever province you are in. Yeah.
Great. Awesome. And for those who are watching who don't have family members or friends in Canada, I would advise that, just to add to what they said, I would advise that you go to a province that has a low cost of living. That helps. And then when you settle there, it helps because that means that your accommodation, whatever you have to spend, living expenses will be low. And then from there, you can now apply to jobs in other provinces and you can always move around. Like people say, you are not a tree, you can always move around.
Yeah,
so yeah, we're going to move to the next question. What was the major challenge you faced when you landed in Canada? What do you think you should have done better, knowing what you know now?
I can go first for this one, if you're okay with that. I think for me and for a lot of immigrants, I don't know the statistics, but probably 70% at least is probably finding a good job, like a job in your field. Because like we're told there's a lot of jobs in Canada, but finding that job can be really hard, especially with like biases from like recruiters and even companies themselves saying that they want someone that has Canadian experience, whereas like your international experience is probably even more relevant because you bring more to the table. So finding that good job can be the most difficult part. However, and for me, that was actually the toughest thing because like I said, I had accommodation, I had food. It was just finding the right job. I was even getting fatter. Someone that didn't have a job, I was getting it.
Wow.
So I think that was the biggest challenge. And I guess that what I would have done differently is because I'm a project manager now. But I didn't try to get my certification before I got to Canada. I was just like, I'll do it there. But if I had done it before I moved, I would have been in a better position to get my job quicker. So it took me like 6 months to get a good job, right? And even that job was not so good. Like I spent 2 years in that like mediocre job before I landed something much better, right? So that 2-year gap, if I'd gotten my certification earlier, I would have maybe close up really quicker, like maybe like in 8-9 months, which would have helped me like save more. I would have had a higher income, like things that having a higher income from the beginning can help you maybe buy a place, buy a car, because I still don't have a car. So like, I feel like those are the things that I should have done before I moved. And that's why I'm telling my sister and everybody else coming, like, whatever you need to be able to practice your profession in Canada, if you can do it before you land, try to do it. Don't wait till you get here, because then you're setting yourself back by like months, because you now get the certification, you now start applying. Whereas if you have gotten the certification, all you need to do is apply for jobs once you land, and then you're good to go. So that's what I'm saying.
Great points. Sophia?
Definitely. I feel like for me, the most difficult thing landing in Canada was, first of all, the weather. I'm sorry. Like I landed in like...
You don't have to be sorry.
Yeah. I think because I've been here for like 3 years, so I'm
still
trying
not
to
used
adjust.
to that.
Exactly. So like for me, for like health reasons, the most difficult thing I struggled with was, first of all, the weather. I came in like August, which was kind of supposed to be like autumn, but then it was cold because coming from Nigeria where it was very hot. So that was like one thing I struggled with. The second one, but then I'm adjusting. I mean, the weather, you will get used to it or you wouldn't. You just have to find activities to keep yourself busy. Canada is cold, like that's it. The second one was, related to what Toby said, was definitely finding a job, but not just So for me, it was different because like back home, I came from an administrative background and I really wanted to get into HR and I didn't have the opportunity to do that. So the difficult thing was for me was making that transition into, HR, which is like, it was hard. So one thing that, of course, as a result of that, one thing everybody kept saying was like, you have to learn how to network. So that was very difficult. I'm a very private person. And I'm like, you want me to start going out, to start sending LinkedIn messages and like connecting with people. It just didn't make sense to me. So I really struggled. I was so against it because at the end of the day, if I had taken the steps to make those connections, like when I landed, I feel like I would have been able to get the job that I now have faster than I took. Because it took me like a while. I was fortunate enough to like work with immigrant servicing organizations that were really helpful. They have like mentorship opportunities. And I did find somebody who was into HR. And then she literally helped me. This is somebody from like a different country, different background. She helped me, networked, was sending my resumes to people. And then eventually I landed that job. She was telling me to volunteer. So those are things, I feel like networking is something that a lot of people would struggle with coming into Canada because honestly, you don't know anyone. So when people are telling you network, it's not because they're trying to be mean, but really that helps you so much. Even right now, like I just got a change in my job. I'm going to move on to a really good company. I don't want to say it outside. I'll tell my friends after, but like that is also as a result of somebody helping me. Exactly. Like somebody that I worked with has helped. Yeah.
Yeah, I am still struggling with networking myself. So it's an ongoing thing, ongoing learning
So hard,
curve.
yeah.
So yeah, thanks. Awesome.
Very well said.
Very well said, exactly. So yeah, I'm gonna move on. What did you do for work in Nigeria? I think we've covered this. I'll just go straight to the next question. How has the immigrant journey been for you so far?
What do you mean by immigrant journey?
Like generally, as an immigrant living in Canada, how has it been for you so far? I mean, ups, downs. I'm not saying you should like give us details.
Yeah, I mean,
has it been? Yeah.
For me, I feel like the journey has been an amazing experience, good or bad. You learn from everything. You make mistakes. But I've just been really fortunate in terms of like connection. Like you two are amazing. You made it so much easier. Toby has helped me. Like when it comes to like learning, like where to buy meat, I didn't struggle with all of those things because I made the right connections. And when it comes to like life in Canada as an immigrant, there's so many immigrants in Canada. Where I live, you have people from like, Iran, Siberia, like everywhere. So I don't feel like anybody, I have not had that experience. I've not had any racist issues. I've not had experience with anybody telling me like unfortunately or fortunately for me, I've not had any of those issues at all. I've just been so lucky in terms of like the people where I've worked. I've always felt like I belonged in every job that I had. I felt respected. I felt heard. One thing that I even struggled, funny enough, was when I came, I'm very, like, in Nigeria, you don't talk to your bosses. Like, your bosses tell you what to do, and that's it. So when I came and people were asking for my opinions in meetings, I didn't understand because I was just an administrative assistant. They're like, Sophia, do you have an opinion? And I'm like, but yeah, so it helps me to learn how to speak up. So I've just been fortunate so far. I've not had any terrible experience. I don't know about Toby. Has it been any different for you?
My immigrant journey, for the most part, has been all ups and very few downs. I would say that I'm extremely grateful and even a little bit privileged because, like, I'm the glass half full kind of person. Of course, there have been downsides. There have been times where I'm like, God, you brought me here for a reason. Why am I struggling? Like, why is everything so hard? Like, why am I applying to jobs and not getting responses and stuff? But for the most part, like, I'm where I am today. I don't know if I would have been there if I was still in Nigeria, even though I had a good job in Nigeria, right? I was working oil and gas. I was earning, okay money or good for some people because I know things are tough in Nigeria. But I know that the place where I'm at right now is all God. Like, it's just so much better than I could have envisioned. So I think that for me, it's been mostly good, but I've had a few, weird occasions with, like, I would like to call them ignorant people because I feel like if they knew better, they would act better. So the uncomfortable moment, I'm actually supposed to have shared a story on my Instagram page, which maybe I would finally share it today because I'm so lazy when it comes to posting about like, you know, the terrible experience I had with like a homeless person in Ottawa. You know, I was afraid for my life for the first time in Canada, right? So there's been a few of those, but they are so far, you know, they're not so many, right? So I can't really use that to define my experience in Canada. So I would say my immigrant journey has been great. And I'm very pro immigrants, right? So like a lot of my friends, like 80% of my friends are immigrants. So you guys, my friends from India, from Egypt, from Morocco, like I'm the champion of immigration and immigrants.
Love it.
Exactly. I love learning about cultures. I'm the kind of person that will seek out immigrants to give my business to because I know how, you know, difficult it can be and the struggles. So I feel really privileged and really grateful to be where I'm at right now. And maybe it could have been easier. Like I said, if I maybe had my certification and I'd be prepared better, maybe I would have been here like 2 years ago or a year ago, but I'm not sad about it. Like I'm happy. I've learned things that I can now share to people and help them to, you know, learn better and do better. So that's my answer.
Awesome. I just wanted to add to what Sophia said about speaking out. For many new immigrants, you may learn that, or you may have to learn that quickly, that speaking out is very, very, speaking up for yourself and, you know, actually speaking, like talking, just be free to speak your mind. Be free. It may sound stupid, or you may think that you sound stupid, but just it's good to speak your mind and say how you feel. Of course, with some diplomacy and professionalism, of course, because you're in the workplace. But I know that we have come for us who have come from Nigeria. It's speaking to your boss in a certain way may seem like you're disrespecting because we're trained or socialized to respect our bosses and see them as our gods. Well, that is not the case here. You'll be calling your bosses like by their first name, and you'll be scored higher if you speak your mind, share your ideas, and share your thoughts on things. Sophia, do you want to say something?
No. Yeah, I was just like, yes, I was nodding my head, like, that's correct. Like, you know, back in Nigeria, you don't put this Mr. Kolawale or Mr. You're
getting fired.
Oh my God. Yeah, but like, it doesn't mean that people don't respect each other here. Funny enough, like it's just like people are not even keen on titles. Yeah. But then that doesn't mean that you're going to be disrespecting anyone because you're calling them by their name.
Yeah. And then it's really nice to hear from you that you've always been heard, or you know your views and for all the jobs that you've worked. It's really nice to hear that. I mean, it's encouraging for some immigrants. That's not the case for me. That's not the case, you know, but as immigrants. So I'm just trying to put it out there, like it may not be all rosy in quotes at your workplaces. There's certain things that you say, and then people would not, you know, because you're of the biases, you know, like Toby said, not because they probably don't know better. Some of them do it on purpose, but yeah, I would say that you should amplify the good parts, amplify the times where you have been heard, and the times where people have acknowledged and respected you, compared to the time.
Good.
Yeah, amplify the good.
And just to add to what you said, like it's not every time that you would feel heard and respected, but you shouldn't now stop speaking your mind because you had, pushback. Because it's hard enough to come out of our shell, because I've always been a vocal person. So maybe it was easier for me, even when I was in Nigeria. I remember one time that my boss was telling me to share food for my colleagues. And I was like, wait, because I'm the only lady in this team, I'm not the one sharing food. Like, it was a big fight. And I was ready to lose it all, because I've always been of the mind that, like, anything, if you're not willing to risk everything for what you believe in, then like you should stand for something. That's the kind of person I am. So I have a different personality from most people. But the thing is that I feel like it's important to mention that even if you get pushback, even if someone dismisses your thoughts or what you said, you want to say it again. Say, excuse me, maybe you didn't hear me before. I'm going to say it again. Like, don't push back. Don't like pull back and now retreat and then be shy. Because I realized one thing in Canada. Vocal people get noticed. Vocal people get promoted. Vocal people get opportunities. So girl, speak for yourself. Like if you say something in the meeting and they're like, oh, what are your thoughts? And then you share it and the person dismisses, you say, oh, excuse me, just wanted to quickly, remind you of what I said. Like, does anyone agree or does it work? The first minute they'll be like, oh, this girl is brave. But the next time when you say something, they're gonna write it down. They're gonna take notes.
Yeah.
Exactly. I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then again, it also affects your confidence. And confidence is very important in the workplace in Canada. So if you retreat and then go back to your shell, it would affect your confidence. And then you would not be able to speak up on the matters that you should be speaking up. And then again, promotion, you want to be heard. I know a couple of people who do not even do the work. They do not do as much work, but they talk well. And then they're heard and then they get promoted. So yes,
I feel like that's a subject we should talk about another time, like about how to really, position yourself. Because when you're from Nigeria, it's difficult to say, look, I think I deserve a promotion. It's difficult to say, look, I'm adding value to this team. Give me a raise. It's very difficult. I struggled for the first 2 years. My boss would say, tell me what you want. And I'm like, I just think and I'll be dancing around the issue. And all the other Canadians are like, look, I think I deserve a 20% raise because of XYZ. So we need to talk about that because that's a whole thing.
Exactly. I think it's like that hits home because that really hits home. That's another conversation. So yes, let's move on. Because we can spend a whole day talking about that. So let's move on. What was the biggest culture shock you experienced in Canada or you've experienced in Canada? Have you experienced racism? Sophia said no, but would ask Toby, would you like to share that experience and how you handled the situation?
I mean, I tell my friends that I have a terrible short-term memory because the way God has created me is that I remember the good and mostly forget the bad. I think it's a survival mechanism. I know I've experienced racism. I know I've experienced biases that were not good. I wouldn't dwell too much on it, but the one time that comes to mind was when I was trying to get on the train, when the old train started working in Ottawa, because old train is our Confederation light rails trail system or whatever it's called. And I was trying to get on, and then there's this guy that was like, everybody was trying to get on the train, and he specifically targeted me and like kind of like shoved me away and said like, who do you think you are to like try to get on the train before me? Like, in a public place in front of everybody. And I'm like, and I was the only one that looked like me there, right? Like, and it was like people on his left, people on his right, but then he looked at, like, he specifically came to me and said what he said. And I was confused because at the point I didn't even know how to react. I'm like, is this appropriate? Is this a normal behavior? And everyone just kept like looking at us, like, trying to see what I would do. Oops. And I think for me, it's the paralysis in the moment when that happens that really gets to me after. Because I feel like if I had said something to him like, shut up, or even like sworn at him, or like, said something, I would have felt so much better. But because I was shocked. That was my first experience. It's like, what do I do? Like, I don't know what to do. So I went in and the anger kept boiling inside of me. I'm like, I should have said something in the moment. So I think that's what I really relate to. I can really remember right now. But there's been a few other experiences with like people in the grocery store or like, but I don't like to dwell on that. I pretty much try to see the good. And the truth is that most people have been open. Like, they might not have been like welcoming, like, oh, I'm gonna hug you, but they've been accepting. So I'm pretty like okay with that. So yeah, there's been racism, and I know a lot of people have had it worse. So I don't like to dwell on my experience because I know that it's bad, but it's not as bad as it could have been, right? Especially like a lot of places, even in the US or even some places in Canada where people have worse experiences. But that's kind of like some of the few, again, short-term memory problem. I don't remember the bad, but I remember that one because it shook me a bit. And I think I shared it on my Instagram. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Thanks. I mean, I have experienced it a couple of times, but again, like I said, I like to amplify the good part. One that I remembered as you were speaking was when on our office, like multi-group or multi-department office chats, Microsoft Teams. We're just chatting, and I had sent an email to correct a client about something that they did wrong. And I sent that email. I was copied in that email, and then the other groups were copied in that email. So when I responded to that email, I just said in that email, please do not do this going forward. And this is something that we had agreed as a group that clients should not do, to send, they were not supposed to send a particular document to us. So I just responded and said, please do not send this. And then in the group chat, one of the team members, or someone from another team just came on the group and said, oh, and called me out. She tagged me and tagged my other, Ifeanyi and other coordinators. Please make sure clients do not send blah, 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 blah to this inbox anymore. And then I'm like, hello, I called the client out. I already told the client that. So why are you calling me out in the group? And then you're not calling my other team members. You specifically called me out. And then I just saw that and I'm like, sorry, I was the one who responded to the client. Like, she now said, oh, okay, I just see that. And that was it. No apologies, nothing. And then I just came and I said, I would appreciate it, like in the whole group. It was funny, but I came and said, I would appreciate it if next time you double check before calling me out. And at that point, I was happy with my response, because most times, like you said, I get paralyzed and I don't respond until later, and I feel like beating myself up for not responding. And I'm like, wait, in Nigeria, I will speak. If it was in Nigeria, so why am I? So I just said, for that occasion, I was so happy. I said, please make sure that you double check before calling me out. And you know what? She panicked. And then she started saying, oh, I'm so sorry on the chat. And then she came to my private chat, like personally, to say, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. And I'm like, oh, really? You called me out in the, like, where managers are and everything, thinking that, like, what were you going to get?
What purpose was it for? Yeah, I know.
What purpose? Why didn't you send me a personal message to say, why did you do this? But you wanted to call me out. Yeah, so these are the things that, sometimes you may not be able to respond as you would like. I'm not saying you should be rude. I'm not saying you should be, but
actually, it's funny because, like, when you were talking about this, something else came to mind. There's this guy I used to work with. Well, it was a client on the client side, but I used to work for a consulting company. And every time I spoke with him personally, because we had to work together as project like managers, right? Every time I was on the call with him, he would be like very, very aggressive in a way that you won't pick up on if you're not passive aggressive. Like, if he would say things like, if you know simple math, you should understand that. He would say things like, like if you were really smart, like things like that, like initially I thought maybe it was me that was like over exaggerating. He would never say that in front of other people. He would just be rude, but like nothing that I can hold on to. But when it was just me one-on-one, I then started to think about it, that why is it me? Because when he talks to like my other colleagues, he will never say they never had any issues with that, but me,
because he just thinks you're not smart.
I'm not smart enough. And then one day, I had it up to here. I was done. And like I said before, when you don't speak up, that's when it really gets to you, because you feel defenseless. You feel like you're not strong enough to fight for yourself,
and it affects your confidence.
And then he was like that. I've asked you for this before. You've not provided it to me. And I replied to him and said, look, when I called you, you were rude. You were passive aggressive. You said XYZ to me. I don't appreciate being spoken to that way. I copied my boss. See, I was ready that time, and thank God for God. Thank God for I was ready to let everything scatter, because it was working for a client that actually liked me. So I was ready to tag that client in the email and say, look, this guy is not a good person. Fire him from your project. But I was like, God will not like that. Give him a chance. So I wrote it out. And then he came back and said, no, that there's nothing like that I'm the one. Or even his response was like, normally you should like say, oh, I'm sorry. He was now trying to make me seem like I was
you were crazy and you were hallucinating.
Yeah, that I'm hallucinating, like it's all in my head. I'm not forgiving him, if I'm being honest.
No, but These are the things that you'll probably be faced with. Some of you, maybe not all of you, and it'll be good for you to speak up for yourself and do not be intimidated. You'll find sometimes some annoying clients. Some people will just think that, who are you? Why should you even be working here? It's not the common thing, but on your way or your journey, you may find some people like that. But it's good for you to speak up for yourself and then call it out for what it is. Call it out for what it is. Yeah. So yes, let's move on. This is
interesting.
It's very interesting. The more I remember, the angrier I get.
So, what major lesson you have learned as an immigrant in Canada? Sophia.
Tough question. I mean, I feel like I'm going to be an immigrant for a very long time. As long as I move to this country, I'm going to be an immigrant for the rest of my life. What major lesson? I don't know. We've said so many things. I guess it's just knowing that you're not alone. We have immigrants from everywhere. And knowing to ask for help when you need it. Canadians are generally nice. Like that is a lot what, Nigerians with pride, you die. Some people would rather die than ask. There are so many people are kind and nice. Like, I don't know. That's one thing that I've learned for me, because as a private person like you, knowing how to speak to people, but then people are generally nice. And the other thing that was a shock for me, I forgot to mention, was how very individualistic Canadians are. They're the nicest people, but then they mind their fucking business. Excuse my language. Like, you would, like my neighbors, like you can talk to them, hi, hello, but then once they're in their house, they're in their house. It doesn't mean that if I need something to ask, like they would give me, but then they mind their business. Nigeria is like completely different. So when you come here, please, like mind your business. It does not mean you should not be friendly, but like what this neighbor, they don't do that here. And that's something that a lot of Nigerians are very loud. And yeah, people here are very calm and nice, and they just mind their business a lot. Yeah, I really can't think of anything.
That's okay. That's enough. Like being able to ask, when you need help. That's a very major, thing. Like a closed mouth, they say, is a closed destiny. So yeah.
Yeah. Even at work, sometimes like when you come as a Nigerian, Nigerians will work hard, and a lot of Nigerians in Canada are doing well. But then you have to learn how to ask for help. Because you'll be suffering with work. You can ask your boss, sorry, would you mind, if I take a day off, or when exactly do you need this? Can I get extra time on that? Learn how to ask. You can't be suffering because your work can't be suffering. Like whatever it is, just ask. The worst case is people would say no. And oftentimes people are more than willing to help you. Even if you get a new job, maybe on the interview, you like added pepper and salt, you have to hype yourself, but eventually get you to the job and you're struggling. Ask. Like there's nothing wrong. Everybody's way of doing things are differently. The fact that you're doing something in Nigeria doesn't mean it's exactly how they do it here. There's no point, like there's nothing wrong with asking, sorry, how do you do this? Would you mind showing me? Like it's better that you ask and you're able to live on your job than you don't, and then you're suffering, your performance is suffering, and then you're thinking everybody hates you, and meanwhile people are just so nice. So like just learn to ask, whether it's at work, whether it's with friends. Anyway, there's help available to you everywhere, even though like people are individualistic, but like people are nice and they would help you oftentimes. Yeah.
Good. I'd like to add to that quickly. Talking about workload and job and everything. Like, please, I know that we all are socialized to work very hard, but please take your breaks and take your vacations. I say this because somehow Nigerians, especially because we are some of us have to send money back home. We have to work twice as much as some other people, the white people. But again, taking your vacations will also show to some of your bosses and some people that work with you that you also want to take some time off so that you can come recharged and you can, you care about your well-being as well. Because if you do not show that you care about your well-being, then sometimes all the work, it will just be like natural that all the work will be tossed to you. And then when you are now truly burnt out, they would wonder why you cannot do certain work again. That's my own experience, right? So I've learned to, pull the plugs. I've learned to say, no, sorry, I can't do this right now. It's past my, or can I do this later? As opposed to staying up, trying to work till like 9 p.m. you can do that sometimes. There's nothing wrong with, going above and beyond for your job. But again, learn to know when to pull the plugs. That's
Yeah.
that's what I
Just
said.
something else I also learned is, like back home, how we, when you're at work, you're talking about everything in your life. Like here, people don't really need to hear that. You have to be very mindful of some certain language that you use in Canada, talking about everything, even how you identify your spouse. Some people would say it's rather you say your partner than your husband. Canada is like LGBTQ friendly and all of those things. So you have to be very mindful of your language, even in emails and how you email people, and even respecting like timelines, like in terms of like work. A lot of us are working remotely. It doesn't mean like Nigerians. I remember back then I would be sending an email. My boss was sending me an email at 2 a.m. and expecting me to action it by 8 a.m. in the morning, like back home. But here, like most people are very respectful of the time. So it doesn't mean that you can't work overtime if you want. Most times you're not advised to do that. But then if you're going to be doing any work, like be mindful of that, like respect the other person's time and things like that. Yeah.
Great. All right, I'm gonna move. I think we've talked too,
Yes.
too much, but yeah, I've enjoyed it so far, so I don't mind if the video is gonna be long. It's fine. It's been very interesting and informative. So yes, what is the worst thing anyone has ever said about your accent? Nothing? Oh, you guys have great accents then. Nobody has said, oh, can you give the phone to someone who speaks English?
Never experienced that.
Okay,
No.
all right.
The worst thing maybe is like when I first came, they're like, oh, you speak very good English.
For an African.
Exactly. And then I remind them, I'm like, we were colonized by the British, Abby. Nigerians, we speak English. Because a lot of African, like, once you're like this color, they would just assume like, even if you tell me Nigerian, they'll just keep saying you're from Africa. Some people might say that. Well, like that's like the only thing I remember. And then I just smiled. I didn't even know how. I was like, yeah, we're colonized by the British, speak English over there. But then sometimes, like you said, it's ignorance, right? Some people don't know. But other than that, I've not had any side comments regarding my accent.
I've had to pull up, this was in the US anyways, I've had to pull up the map to show where Nigeria is and that we speak English. There are other French speaking countries.
Exactly.
So I think they think that, I don't know what they think, but it's on them if they don't have the right information. It's on them.
Yeah.
So yes, what 3 things that you love the most about Canada?
We can go first.
If you're still thinking, we can go on to the juicy part. Let's talk about dating. Is Canada lonely?
Yeah, Toby, how do you feel about dating in Canada? Can I please ask her this question?
I really love to hear that because it's been a struggle for me. So hey, the floor is open. So I'm just going to run through all the questions we have on dating and then we can just have a chat about it. So is Canada lonely? What do you think about dating in Canada? Do you advise immigrants to date people back home? Why do you think people don't like to date people back home? And then what is your advice for single people who are looking to date in Canada?
Lots of questions. Sophia, you want to go first?
A lot of people are probably.
What do I know? I have no idea. Like I'm shining the spotlight on you, Toby. Please go ahead. Sophia, my loves, I've got this conversation.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'll go. I don't know. I feel like for me, like I do things a little bit differently from most people. So whereas a lot of my friends are only looking to date Nigerians in Canada, I'm not that person. Like I said, I'm pro-immigrant. So if you're from anywhere in the world, I'm open to going on a date with you. So long as we connect on like important things, like things that are important to me. If we connect on that level, then it doesn't matter to me where you're from, what kind of food.
That's how the world should be, really.
Yeah, so long as we can communicate. The only exception is that 90 Days Fiance thing that me and Sophia were watching, and we're using apps to connect, to interact, to speak. I cannot do that one, but so long as we can speak English, and even if your English is bad and I can understand, like, that's fine for me. I mean, it's okay to date for people back home if that's what floats your boat. It's just like any long distance relationship. If you're willing to do long distance, whether it's someone in Nigeria, or someone in the US, or someone in Moravia or Bolivia, I have no issues with that. For me, I kind of haven't really dated people in Nigeria since I moved to Canada, because I'm like, if it's a Nigerian I'm looking for, then there are some Nigerians here. If it's just a human being I'm looking for, then there's
a lot of human beings,
young people here, right? So I don't need to go back to Nigeria. And it's funny because I was single when I was in Nigeria, so I don't idealize I don't idealize dating in Nigeria. I don't say, oh, my husband is in Nigeria, that's the only place I can find it. Because if that was the case, I would have been married before I moved to Canada, you know. So I'm very open to dating from anywhere, and I feel like people that are open to doing that have more options. Honestly, it's just math. It's like you have Canada has probably 36 million people from the latest census. Of that, maybe 50% as young. Maybe of the 50%, 30% are single, because not everybody's married, right? Let's say you have 30%, and out of that 30%, there are only like 0.5% Nigerians. You are struggling for the same 0.5% Nigerians as your female. I did the math one time, I wrote it down, but I don't have.
Oh, wow. Oh,
so,
wow.
So now
that I'm on dating,
I kind of like did the rough numbers, you know, like
I love that.
Break it down. Because I was gonna make a YouTube video about like, you know, the numbers and the reality of like narrowing your pool, right? So to answer your question, if you want to date someone in Nigeria, feel free to do so. Just don't idealize the fact that, oh, they'll be your perfect match because they're from where you're from. It's not always the same, right? It's not always, you know, that way. And it's hard. Dating is hard. Canada is lonely. To answer your question, it is like, it is so much easier if you have someone in Canada because the weather is cold.
Cold winters.
The weather is cold. You need someone that can help you on lazy days. Like you're hungry, you need to get groceries. But right now, I have to do all my groceries myself. If not, there's no food to eat. Sophia can send her husband to the store. Go and buy food. You go and buy. Like, so, you know, it works. It's easier if there's a partner. There's no like that. The fact that you can even pull your income together, you can do so much more.
That is very important. Oh my gosh. I feel like that pulling of, please, can I just jump in? That pulling of income, I feel like that's why some people are in relationships here.
I mean, for sure.
No shade on people who are in relationships, but I think it's a very major factor because like you're gonna pay your rent, you're gonna share rent. Like you're going to have more savings because you're going to be able to share it with your partner. You're going to have, it means that you are, both of you together will have that financial, oh, we're getting there. Let me not jump. But yes, it's so much easy. It may seem like it's a frivolous reason to be in a relationship, but it's not. It's a major reason.
There's a lot of people that are partnered up today because of home ownership and because of financial incentives. Like if you rent a 2-bedroom by yourself, let's say on average you pay $2,000, or let's say even 1 bedroom, because couples can even manage in 1 bedroom until they, you know, get something better, right? Let's say you rent a 2-bedroom and a 1 bedroom and it's $1,800. If you're sharing that with someone, you're literally paying $900. So you're saving half of that rent money in you're investing it. So it's logical why a lot of people are partnered up today because of financial reasons. So yeah, there's so many ways where it's like much easier to have someone, but it's also like, do you really want to do it for that reason? Like
for that reason, that's why some of us are too single.
Yeah.
If it's just because of like money and stuff, it's easy to marry somebody and date somebody. Like, some of us that have been single for a long time, people are like, but you're fine now. Why don't you have a husband? I mean, you don't understand. The streets are not calling our name.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think about it every time because I have to. I'm in Toronto, very expensive. My rent is very expensive, and sometimes even in your job, being financially, we're going to get there, but just being financially free, so to speak, helps you make certain decisions. Yeah. Like you can be going through a lot, for example, in your job, and you can't just quit because once you quit, you know that where am I going to get my rent from? But
you ain't got no money.
Exactly. But if you have someone who is here who can also, you know, help while you look for,
while you find your
feet again.
And that's why it's there's this phrase, it's expensive to be single. It's very expensive because
I agree.
Your career decisions are tied to your income, your home ownership, even location. So for instance, if you're a single person, you're likely to want to live in an area that there's lower cost of living just to be able to afford rent, but it might not be the best area for your career. So
I think I need to move away from here.
It's expensive to be single, and it's lonely too. Like, honestly, let's not lie about it. It's sometimes you just want to cuddle with someone, watch a TV show, and drink a cup of tea. It's like
the people watching above 18 here. Yeah, they are.
All of us here are above 18, so they're not shying at all in this conversation. It's just the reality of it. Like in February. Sure. And Valentine's Day is in winter in Canada. That's another annoying thing. So it's like it's cold. So if you cannot go to a restaurant, at least have breakfast in bed. But you have no bed.
Sophia, I know that you are married, right? But what do you think about this topic generally?
I think, like, from what I've heard, like, dating anywhere is hard, honestly. It makes it harder in Canada, first of all, because you spend like half of your year in like cold weather. So even like going out, and then as a new person, knowing it's part of like networking, it's expensive. In Nigeria, you're going out, somebody's paying, inviting you, they'll probably pay for your lunch or whatever. Here it's different. They'll go Dutch on you, which is, we're going to split it 50-50. So if you think of every time you have to go on a date, that's expensive.
I'm broke.
Exactly.
That is expensive. Yeah. And then also, like, when you come here as a single person, it doesn't mean you're not going to meet someone. You just have to be open-minded. Like Toby said, you can definitely date outside your race. You're not binded because you're an African or a Nigerian. You have to date someone. People are people, and they are good people here. So it's just being open-minded, but then again, keeping in mind that you should definitely look for somebody who matches what you're looking for in terms of like your values. Whatever it is, you can find it here. Yeah. And in terms of like advice on people dating back home, like Toby said, like it's really up to you. I know that most people are scared that, okay, if I date this person from back home and then I bring them here, there's this notion like once women come to Canada, they misbehave and then they become something else, which could happen. So it's all about like it's a very sensitive and difficult topic, but then people have had good experiences. It's just being open-minded and like doing your best. Do your best to go out, do your best to meet people, do your best to network. Sometimes at the end of the day, you might just end up with somebody who's even like a colleague of yours or who's a friend of a colleague. Like, just be open-minded. And another thing that I was going to say was, oh my gosh, I can't remember.
It's okay. Can you remember now? If you cannot remember, it's okay. I just went to...
Oh my goodness, I honestly can't remember.
It's okay. So as someone who is married, like, what are the things that you think you have done better because you're married, or the things that you think you have done because you have a partner?
Well, definitely when it comes to finances, I will definitely agree with that, because I mean, if I was to survive here on my own income, of course I would live definitely within my means, but then it might be a lot harder for me to achieve what I wanted to do. So like, home ownership or whatever, like all those things are easier when you have someone, definitely, because you're splitting the total income and you're able to save more. So definitely that has definitely been very helpful. But even as a married person, I feel like coming to Canada, like you have to understand that things are not always going to be like the way back home, because if you're married back home, like I had a maid, like I had people that are coming to clean every weekend. I enjoy cooking, so I was doing myself, but like in Canada, it's different. We both have jobs, but then we both had to like figure out everything. Everybody does cleaning, everybody does cooking. We all do grocery together. Like it's different. Like the cost of workmanship, is very expensive.
Labor.
You cannot come out and get somebody to come out and clean your house for you. You have to. So because a lot of married people come to Canada and then the marriages like crash. That's also like a very big issue. So Canada is different. You have to learn how to just do things together. Let me not even talk about childcare, because I mean, your kid can't go to school till like 4 or 5. So those 4 years, there's no, because you're the wife, you're going to be sitting down and no, I want to have a career. So those are discussions, like for married people, have those important discussions before you move to Canada. How are we going to do the house chores? Where do you want to raise your kids? Who's going to take care of what? Like split all those things. And even with finances, like I know for some married people, they'll rather have like separate accounts. Do you want to have a joint account? So those are all things that you need to think about as married people, because you don't want to come here and be like, this is my account, this is my money. Or even if you want to do it like that, you have to pool your resources together. Everybody is equal in Canada. Like, I would like to think so. That's how my marriage is. We're all equal partners, 50-50. So that is like a very big issue for a lot of married people coming to Canada. Because you're the husband doesn't mean that you're not going to clean or take care of your baby. Like, you have to do it. It's Canada. We're not going to get somebody to do it because it's expensive. So those are things that you need to think about. Because you have people coming to Canada with like 3 kids. They're not even thinking about how they're going to take care of the kids. They're thinking about how they're going to have jobs and assuming that the wife will be at home taking care of them. Like, that doesn't work like that. So it's important to have all those important discussions, back home before you come into Canada. So that way you don't have any issues. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Just one thing that I wanted to add to what you said is back to your question about people going back to marry, people in Nigeria or date people in Nigeria. You have to do it for the right intentions. And you can't just say, oh, because I want to marry a Nigerian because of how we do things in Nigeria, because it's very different. Like Sophia said, it's more 50-50, more partnership here, because if it's not a sole income, unless it's a doctor or a dentist that make crazy money, right? Most times you have to pull your resources together. So having those conversations early on, because the girl might not know, before she might say yes to you thinking, oh, this is how we do it in Nigeria, I'll stay at home. And then she gets to Canada, she sees her friends, their bosses at their work and stuff like that. She's like, oh, I want to have a career too. I don't want to sit down at home anymore. And then there's fights and issues happen. So it's very important to go into those relationships with the right intentions and be honest about how things are in Canada before you bring someone that hasn't experienced life here down here, because that's when like the relationship can work. Yeah,
and divorce is very expensive in Canada, so everything you own is going to be split 50-50. So for anybody that is thinking there, like,
I love it.
So it literally has to be like to death. And something I also forgot to mention is dating in Canada is also very tricky. So I don't know if you guys have heard like common law, like we all know what that is. So so you need to be mindful of that as an immigrant. You're coming to Canada, you found somebody, you're moving into his house, you're living in his house, which is fine. But then at the end of the day, that is kind of like considered like a marriage in Canada. You don't have to legally be married to be considered as marriage. So that's also like, I think, a topic that we'll need to think about.
Yeah, we need to talk about that, because so many guys, they don't know this, and then they'll invite a girl and she'll move in with them, and then after a year she's entitled to some share of his home. And but you're my girlfriend, you're not my wife. Sorry, in Canada, common law. So we talk about that, for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. I didn't even know some of these things that you guys just mentioned, but it's good to know.
And it's not in every
Oh, okay. Yeah, so basically it's good to just be open to unlearn and relearn. Unlearn some of the things that we were socialized with, and then relearn based on the circumstances that we're facing in Canada. So yes, the next topic is finances. We've talked about I think we've touched on it briefly, but there's some questions here. In Canada, where we pay a lot of taxes, how do you think people can achieve financial freedom? How do you think people can invest? How do you think people can make money? I think I would need to learn from this because I want to make money. All right. So I would let us answer that, and then before I go to the next.
So I will leave it to Toby, because Toby is like a self-taught financial expert. I feel like if you're talking about, we pay taxes, it's expensive in Canada. Sometimes you're living like paycheck to paycheck, but then you have to be able to like make savings where you can cut off some excesses. Like eating out is ridiculous. Like, you have to be able to learn how to do things yourself, making your hair. Like, I've been studying on making my hair, but like you have to learn how to do it yourself, or you can find cheaper sources, or you can make somebody's hair to make your hair. So it's just finding where you can save. It doesn't mean that there are no places where you can definitely save. And then of course, surrounding yourself with resources, people that are going to help you invest. Toby is awesome, on his side. She does a lot. She gives up tips, which I do follow, regarding like how to build your credit, how to build like some kind of portfolio, investing where you can invest with like $5 every month. You just have to find a way to make it work. Because if you keep on thinking that, people complain, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, but then people are doing the same thing. They're just making better choices, and they're able to still invest and buy their house and buy their cars. So it's not impossible. definitely. If you can, it's kind of like, it's the same thing like Nigeria, you know, multiple streams of income. If you can find a way to also maximize on that, you're able to do what you can. And even with paying your taxes, if you're lucky, you know, when you're filing your taxes, you get refunds. So it's not like, I don't mind paying taxes because I know that everything is working. You know, I have access to healthcare, the roads are good, so I don't mind that. And I know that sometimes, you know, if you're even filing your taxes and let's say you're like living within a certain like tax bracket that is low, there are also access to some resources that the government can give you. Yeah. So, I mean, life is expensive, but then you make it work. So Toby is like the expert. I'm going to pass it over to her for like
before
more
Toby
tips.
goes on, I'm sorry, you said something. Yeah, I don't mind paying taxes, but it hurts sometimes. For me, yeah, I say that it hurts sometimes because, I mean, maybe just last year we had like bonuses paid for my company. Mm-hmm. And I was so excited to get the bonuses because I mean, I worked for it, but yeah, half of the bonuses was taxed.
I can tell you how to not let that happen next time. So always opt to have your bonuses paid to your RRSP. It's a hard.
But I wanted money. But
the thing is that if you put it into your RRSP, just think about it that you can get the money back in tax time, right? Like you get that tax refund during tax time because the money went into your RRSP. So you get back, like, you know how RRSPs work now. Like, yeah, it goes in before taxes, and then during tax time you get the difference back. So just look at it as delayed gratification. And if it goes into your RRSP in these times, when your bracket is lower in a few years, you know, like after like you're towards your retirement age, you're getting more value for the money because you're paying it in at your 30% tax rate or 35%, and you're getting it back at 25%. Plus, you still got the refund from your taxes. So never collect bonuses cash. It's better to even pull from your TFSA if you need cash, but don't take your bonus cash because you're paying, because they calculate it as part of your income.
So you're paying.
So it takes it to a higher tax bracket automatically. But anyways, you won't. I'm sure that you would figure it out. I'm not even gotten bonus, but I know so much about bonuses.
I mean, I was really, really burnt, but
I can imagine. But yeah, so anyways, tips to have, you know, it's just like Sophia said, basically be prudent with your spending. I like food. So I know that too much of my money goes into food. I like eating out. I like ordering in. I feel like if I can manage that better, I would even have more money in the bank. But I'm not too fussed about it because life is one, right? So do what makes you happy. But there are areas where you can cut spending, like Sophia said. But the overall thing is think long term. Like, don't just think about right now and like, I don't have any money to invest, because the best thing you can do for your 60, 50-year-old self is to let compound interest work for you. So even if you're not making a lot of money now and you're putting in $200 each month into you're investing $200 each month, forget, even apart from the interest you're getting on, you know, the investment, just the $200 now. So I don't know, basic economics, present value, future value. $200 now in 10 years is, you know, it would have compounded. So it's like I invest $2,400 a year, but in 10 years, that $2,400 is now $6,000. But if I don't invest that money, like I'm not going to get those gains with time. So just let time work for you, but don't put it in a savings account, because savings account will not do anything.
Sure. So where should we put it in?
So invest in like, it depends on your risk tolerance
level.
Savings account don't work because it's just giving you a percentage interest on the principal, right? So it's giving 0.5% or 1% for a good savings account. So even if it's the 1% is compounding, it's not going to compound to 10%. 1% will probably go to maybe like 2 or 3%. But then if you're putting in somewhere, maybe you're getting like 5%, 6%, that 5% on 2,400 is another extra $100. So 2,400 this year plus interest is 2,500. 2,500 plus the next 5% of 2,500, you know, compounds and compounds. So that's how you get it to 5,000, 6,000. So I usually advise people to invest in like the brokerage. There's so many of them now. I use Wealth Simple, but there's Questrade. Even banks have brokerages, but banks have higher fees. That's why I don't use a bank, because I like to not give more money to people that are already rich. So I use brokerages, and I self-direct my investment. So I choose Nigeria is a lot of Nigerians invest in mutual funds in Nigeria because it's very popular. But in Canada, ETFs, which is exchange traded funds, are cheaper than mutual funds. So I usually just advise people just buy it and forget it. So that's another way to get financial freedom. Another way is
just any ETFs, or like I know that it depends
on tolerance. Yeah. So like I usually my tolerance is very high because I'm not scared of the market will crash and come back. Like I'm fine with that. But for people that have low tolerance, like anything is better than nothing. So even if you're very scared, oh my God, you can buy the ETFs that have higher bonds and lower equities. They're the safest because bonds are like not going anywhere. They are stagnant. They're like the savings rates in interest rate for your savings account. But for me, I go more equities because I have a higher risk tolerance. So just go on any brokerage, buy it, forget it. Each month, just make it a habit to do something each month. When you get your salary, let the first thing go into that. But I was going to say another way to achieve financial freedom is to maximize the investment vehicles that they've given us to actually help us get financial freedom, which is TFSA. I talk about this a lot, but it's literally free money when you think about it. So you remember this 25, we pay taxes in Canada. Everything is taxed, even our goods and services, food. Well, I think only groceries are not taxed, but toilet papers are taxed. Everything
10% in Ontario.
Yes, so you pay taxes on everything, but the only thing we don't pay taxes on is money that we invest in a TFSA that makes money for us. So imagine that it's interesting because I recently withdrew all the money in my TFSA to make some investment that I was planning to do, and I made a gain of like 3K in my TFSA, and I'm not going to pay any taxes on those 3K. Like when I say I make a gain, like my investment yielded over time, and I got $3,000, and that $3,000 is free. I'm not paying $1 on it. So I usually say,
how long was that investment? I'm just trying to think for myself too. Like,
oh no, it's not, that's not the right way to see investment. Don't say because I got 3K, maybe in 12 months, then you should do it. No, because what if you get 0 or minus 500, right? It has to be something that you are able to stand. I invested in equities. My ETFs were equities, and I'm lucky it yielded fruit, but it could have been minus 500 and I would have still been okay. So don't go that route because of the gains I made. It's a mistake a lot of people make, and then they lose money and they're like, Toby, you told me to do this. I did not
but it just gives people an insight. I don't know that anybody's going to come and shoot you for that.
No, of course. But again, it just makes people, it hurts more too, because if they had only gone in with their risk tolerance, like, a lot of my friends are risk averse. So I usually tell them, just buy the safest thing. It might not grow high. You might get only 500 or 700 where I'm getting 3K. But at least, even if my 3K comes to 0, I'm okay. If your 500 comes to 250, you are not losing too much, because it's not like you've lost any of your capital, right?
I get you, but I'm just trying to look at like people who are watching who do not even have any idea what ETFs are and all. They can get into like Wealth Simple, download the app, and then they want to just pick some ETFs. Like, so do they just randomly?
Okay, so this is not financial advice. Literacy. I'm gonna preface that by that, because I'm not responsible for any decisions you make. But then I buy Vanguard ETFs. So the Vanguard is like a stock, or is like a company that
a franchise.
Like the company that pulls shares together and sells it as an ETF. So for instance, if you have a low risk, you're risk averse, you can buy Vanguard BAL, which is basically, I think is 60% bonds and 40% equities. It's one of the safest ones you can get. If you are more, you want to buy more equities than bonds, you can buy VGRO, that's the nickname. So just search it on any brokerage you're using. It's 80% equities, 20% bonds. And then if you want to go all in, you can buy 100% equities, which is VEQT. But I always tell people to start with VBAL. And then if your risk appetite grows, you can then go to VGRO and VEQT. So those are simple ETFs. There are so many other ones. There's the Harmony Company. I think theirs starts with X. So the same thing, XBAL, XBAL, XGRO, XVEQT. So those are things that just invest in that. Forget picking single stocks, Amazon, this thing, because your money can just go up in flames.
Exactly.
But ETFs are more, because it's not just one, it's not just Amazon. It is Amazon, Tesla, Google, even Walmart. Like, it's a bunch of different industries that they've put together and they're selling it as one stock. So even if Google goes down, Amazon might still be okay. So your money is not really dropping so much. That's why
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You see, I have learned a lot already. I hope the people watching have learned too. Do you want to give us any other tips?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, what was the other one? Okay, yeah, I think I've mentioned TFSA. Always use try to take advantage of your TFSA, and then take advantage of your benefits. A lot of companies give you company match for your RRSP. That's money on the table. It's free money. It's not a lot of money. So on average, it's probably like 3%, right, Sophia? I'm sure you.
Yeah, some 5, some people 5.
Some are 5 and 3. So even if you're earning 50K a year, 3% of 50K is 1,500, which is 1,500. Like, someone is literally dashing you $1,500. Why wouldn't you take it? So always take the company match. Don't say, I beg, it's not that important. I don't want to do the paperwork. Someone is dashing you 1,500 to sign 2 forms, and you're complete. I've heard of people say, it's just paperwork. Like, so if I give you 1,500 now and I tell you to sign 5 papers, you will not sign it. They say, I'll sign it. So then why aren't you taking your RRSP? So always take advantage of those things. And there's some benefits that your company also offers that you don't know unless you read your handbook or you read your stuff. Like, things like that you might be tempted to pay for, like gym. Some companies offer discount on your gym membership. So your massages, pockets, massages, things like that. Your dentist care, read what they offer before you pay for it upfront, because then that's like another $100, $200 that you can put your investment. And the last tip, people don't like to hear this, because I even heard Sophia saying before that you can get a refund and you do something nice. When you get your tax
save it. Sorry, save it.
Investment. Don't spend it, because even though your RRSP gives you a refund for contributing, it's still money that you'll be taxed on in the future. Although you'll be taxed on it in a lower bracket, right? So it still works out, but that money, reinvest it so that it's like you're doubling. It's like money.
Invest it. Are you saying reinvest it in the TFSA or reinvest it?
Even in your RRSP, TFSA, either one. But because it's after, I usually prefer TFSA if your TFSA is not full. Just put it back in your TFSA so that any gain it makes, it's all yours. You're not paying any tax.
Tobes, we've been looking forward to that. Why we want to go on vacation with that refund.
I know, it's fine. No, if you want to treat yourself, especially if you've been very good with your savings in the whole year. It's okay to treat yourself with that. But people that have not saved anything in the year and they are waiting for a refund and they want to spend it too, don't do it. So it's either you've been good and now you're treating yourself, or you've not been good and then this is your opportunity to actually invest some amount of money. That's how you should see it.
All right. Thank you so much. I have learned a lot, and I'm sure people will have learned as well. Sophia, do you want to say anything? I see.
Oh no, this is why I passed it over to Toby, because you should make sure that you guys follow her after this video and follow Malobs. This is what I mean by surround yourself with resources. All these things that Toby is saying, I'm just smiling because I've been doing them. My company, when they first told me matching, I was like, matching 5%, and I was like, free money. I was like, yeah. And even with my TFSA, my target is always in a year. I try to make sure that I maximize, exceed my TFSA if I can, and then whatever money I have invested into any other stocks or whatever I want to do. So definitely awesome tips from Toby. Thank you so much.
Proud of you, Sophia. You're gonna be.
You see my circle of friends.
All right, nice, good stuff. So our last question here is: what is the most ridiculous lie that you've heard about Canada and Canadians?
Ridiculous lie.
Yes, you heard people say, "Oh, Canada is this, Canada is that," or Canadians are this, Canadians are that.
I think maybe, I don't know if it's a ridiculous lie, but I've seen some trends on Twitter where people will say, that abroad is harder than people are showing, that don't go abroad, stay in Nigeria. I feel like that's very silly, because yes, it can be hard. like I said before, and I'm very honest about my struggles. I struggle to get to where I'm at right now. Like, I'm still not where I should be, but like, I'm grateful for where I'm at. But it took me years to get here. So it can be tough in the beginning. Like, you might have to, I worked as a barista. I sold coffee. There was no shame in my game. You know, some people have to drive Ubers. Some people have to, you know, do cleaning job. Like,
sorry, for those who think barista is like, because of Nigeria.
Oh,
a barista is, don't you want to tell us what a barista is?
Tell them.
For those who serve coffee, serve tea, serve, you know, Starbucks and stuff. So she worked as that. So don't think that.
I don't know why they give you such a nice name.
Don't think that she's complaining or saying that she worked as a barista. And
No. I was literally serving coffee to people. You know, I had apron and everything, and I enjoyed it. It was fun. I got to meet people. I learned much more about Canada than, you know, before I even got into my job. So I was prepared for how to handle customers, like how Canadians can be very soft. Like, you say something like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that to me. I was like, but what did I say to you now? I learned that from serving coffee. So when I got into my job, I knew what to say and what not to say. So I have no hard feelings about that experience. I loved it. But I think that one of the ridiculous lies is when people try to dissuade people from coming, saying that, you know, when your friend tells you they own a house, it's not really their own, no, they are still paying mortgages. Like, don't listen to any of that, because people, I don't know what their incentives are to try to discourage you from coming, but maybe they feel like they would have less opportunities when there are more Nigerians here or whatever.
No, some people have been, to be fair to them, some people have been traumatized by the struggles that they've gone through, and some people have not moved from struggle to getting like that stability. So don't blame, like, to be fair to them, I'm not saying
that, but then they should say, this is my experience, right? Like, this is, because the way they say it, they make it seem like a blanket thing that covers a lot of people. Because of course, I understand what you're saying. So people are still struggling, and you know, respect to them, obviously. But saying that people should not come to a country that, you know, where you have light 24/7, where you have all these things,
that's a very big incentive to leave Nigeria.
Exactly. So like, don't,
especially now.
Yeah, exactly. When you're not having to queue for diesel to on generator at night, like, you know, don't listen to those ridiculous lies, because I feel like everyone has their own path. I have friends Absolutely. That they landed a week after they got a 100K job.
So I know people who,
and I have friends that were like me, that we serve coffee together. Like, our hustle is
everybody drove Uber.
Everybody's hustle is real. So, and I'm not going to now go about saying that because me, I have to serve coffee for months, that Canada is this, Canada is that. Like, don't listen to those things, because your path will be different. And I keep telling, I strongly believe that even if path A is hard, it may mean that the next step will be easier. I have this, I need to prove this my theory, but I have this theory that people that struggled really hard to get their PR before coming to Canada usually have a very smooth integration process. Like, jobs is easier, things are, you know, but people that like get their PR in 2 months, I'm not saying in every case, but like, I've kind of noticed a trend. So it's like one part might be difficult, but another one will be easy. So it's always a trade-off, right? So like, don't be discouraged by how long.
That's how life is generally, right?
That's how life is.
It may not, it may not mean that, it may not mean exactly how you said it, because some people, like, I waited 7 months to get my PR, and I still came out.
7 months is nothing with 2.5 years.
Yes, no, but in my time, right? That time.
Yeah, but when you look at it now, at that time, it seemed like very long. But now, I know people that are waiting 3 years, 2.5 years. So it's like, we did not struggle in our time.
Exactly, you know. So basically, let's just have like a balance, you know. We should just balance our expectations and then balance views. So when we're giving people stories about Canada, we should give them a balanced perspective, right? That's what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah, like, give them a balanced perspective, and for people not to believe the lie that, you know, it's either too good or too hard. Like, it's everyone's experience will be relative. So really just come with an open mind. That's what I would say. And then the other part about like, what's the ridiculous lie about Canadians? I feel like that whole thing about Canadians are so nice is overblown. They're not. They're nice. Everyone is nice, but it's not like the way they've been saying it, Canadians are nice because they say sorry. If you see the kind thing they can do to you.
That is very important, because that helps you manage your expectations of them as well. Because when you come and because you've heard the narrative of Canadians are so friendly, and then you now begin to see someone and not as friendly as you expected, it may affect you, So open up your mind to some Canadians are friendly, like everywhere in the world.
Exactly.
You find some people who are friendly, you find some people who are not, and you should be able to deal with these, groups of people. Yeah. So, Sophia.
Yes. You guys have all said amazing things. But then bottom line is, people, like, just do your research. Like, people would say things because they're speaking from their own perspective. So that person that's telling you, Canada is terrible, they had a bad experience, doesn't mean that your experience is going to be the same. So if you put in the work, do your research, connect yourself with the right people. That's what I say. Like, I feel like if you have the right people, like, respect to all the people that are hustling, but I feel like if you look at most of the people that are successful, they've surrounded themselves with very successful people. So just make sure that whatever it is, you're feeding yourself with good information from the right sources. That is, for me, that is what helps me, and it's still helping me. And then people are going to lie. Like, Canada is cold. Yes, it's cold. Everybody knows that. You have to make your peace with it. There are other provinces that are not as cold. So why don't you move in? Because you see videos, like when it's winter, you see videos of, oh my God, this is why you want to go to Canada. Like, there are areas where it's not snowing. Exactly. You can move to British Columbia. You can move to Vancouver if you're concerned about the snow. People that are in Winnipeg are probably having it worse than people in Ottawa. So it's just do your research and just surround yourself with the right people and just be open-minded. Don't think because things didn't work for that person, it's not going to work for you. That's all.
Any ridiculous lie that you've heard about Canada or Canadians? No?
I mean, not that I can think of, apart from like people complaining about the weather and like how the hustle is hard, and like Toby has already said a lot of things, like, but then it's all lies. Like, just have your own experience. It's like how people say things about childbirth. At the end of the day, everybody's experience is different. Just be open-minded. That's it.
Right. All right. I think we've come to the end of the question and answer. Just final words for intended immigrants, final words for new immigrants.
I was gonna say, when we were talking about a different topic earlier about workplace and stuff, like asking for what you want, I was also gonna say that I forgot the thought I wanted to say. I think, yes, I remember now. Unlike in Nigeria, where we see changing jobs as a negative, like, oh, you've been in 2 jobs in 3 years, like, maybe you're not going to be a good fit. It's not a problem here. Like, be okay, feel free to level up. If you have been in your job for a year and you get a better offer, that's the quickest way to financial freedom, honestly.
That's the quickest way to
going higher in your income levels. Yeah. So I still have a lot of Nigerian friends and Africans that say, oh, like, if I change job, in 2 years, maybe they will not want to hire. And then, like, you are leaving money on the table. If someone is offering you 25% more than your current salary, go. Take it. So that would be my last thought. Don't leave money on the table. If recruiters are reaching out to you, it means that your skills are needed and they are wanted. So take the job, because even if you get a promotion, you probably get a 5%, 10% increase in salary. Max. If you change jobs, you can get up to 50%. Some people have even doubled their changing jobs. So
very brilliant hopes. Brilliant hopes. Final words, Sophia.
Last words would be, what stands out the most is definitely do your research. You're coming to a new country. So research on like where to live, follow the kind of right pages, the resources. You can even learn about financial literacy before you move into Canada, so you make the right decisions from day one. That would be number one. And then secondly, I would definitely say network. Network is very important. It doesn't mean that you have to follow everybody on LinkedIn. Well, like if you can reach out to, like, for example, they should definitely be following this YouTube and subscribing. And then Toby has a YouTube as well, like, subscribe. Just make sure that you're following the right people, because if you don't, like, knowledge is power. So if you're not empowering yourself before you even leave Canada, you're making a very big mistake. That's going to cost you like months to adjust. Those are like the main 2 things that I'll say. And then the third one is just be open-minded. Like, Don't hold on to what somebody else's experience was. Just believe that the best things can happen to you and then put in the work.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tobes. Thank you so much, Sophia, for joining. Thank you for the helpful tips that you have shared. Thank you for I have learned just listening. So I'm so happy that we have this, and I'm sure that people will be happy to watch this. So for those who reached the end of the video, please do not forget to subscribe. Do not forget to like. And then, yes, I will put Tobes' Instagram handle, so you can follow her, and yeah, she also has a YouTube channel. You can also subscribe to her YouTube channel. Thank you so much, and until next time, my name is Malobes.
Thank you, Malobes.
Bye.
Bye.